I would not be surprised if the collective unconscious felt like Twinson's Big Adventure.
It kind of does, yeah. I wonder if, we tapped into the neural network by playing Twinson. Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
And my name is David.
Bit of an interesting day, I will say. We're recording this on Monday, the 20th.
Yes, the 20th of January, 2025.
Yeah,
for all future historians out there.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting one. And I know that it's probably challenging for a lot of people. And let's just try to be podtimistic. I'm going to take a hard right turn and just go directly into podtimism territory.
You're taking a hard right turn.
Okay, fair. I'm going to take a hard left turn. and
this is Chase's mask off moment.
I know, yeah. Suddenly I'm just like the worst shithead you've ever met. No, I suspect that podtimism provides a little bit of relief from said everything.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you this, David.
What?
Do you have any pot pie feelings? Do you have any feelings about pot pie?
Pot pie. I'm pro pot pie. I like a chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
A chicken pot pie is tasty. I enjoy it. It's a savory pastry that is gooey and gravy-y and umami-y, and I like it with some peas and some carrots. It's good stuff.
I everything that I know about myself, like if I didn't know me, I would be willing to bet that guy likes pot pies about me.
I mean, that mustache definitely looks like it likes pot pies.
It feels like a pot pie accessory, you know?
Yeah, flavor saver.
The answer is no, Dave. I don't like a pot pie.
Did you just learn this?
It was a lingering amount of information that I knew in my soul, but I hadn't spoken into existence.
So you enjoy the taste of Pepto-Bismol, but you don't like a pot pie.
Specifically the texture of Pepto-Bismol, but I don't like a pot pie. Yeah. I think it's pretty gloopy. It feels like a cousin to the bread bowl.
Sure.
And I kind of just want a bread bowl. Like it feels like
it's a reverse bread bowl.
It's a reverse bread bowl. It feels like we are cross breeding a bread bowl and a calzone with some stuff in it. Like, I for whatever reason, it doesn't make me feel good when I eat it.
Chase, here's my question. What is your reference pot pie? What brand or restaurant pot pie are you thinking of when you think of pot pie?
Yeah, so here's what like got me to this space in the first place. I promise we will talk about video games in a moment. Here's what got me to this place in the first place. When I was younger, my grandparents would eat pot pies and they would eat like microwave pot pies. And the smell of them really kind of soured me on it in the first place. Probably because I was a child and like child noses are pretty overactive, but just like I swear I could smell every pea in those motherfuckers and just like couldn't do it. And the texture never looked good to me. But recently I went to shout out Ken's Market in Seattle. And my dear wife was like, "Ooh, we got to get one of those pot pies for dinner." And I was like, go off, queen. You can do it, but I'm not going to participate.
Sure.
And we got one for her, cooked it for, again, 45 minutes pot pie? What are we doing?
Gotta cook it all the way through, baby.
That is an endeavor for a very small portion of food.
How big was it? Was it like a hand pie?
Personal pot pie. Yeah.
So we're not talking like one of the Costco pot pies. That's
no. That's not
as big as your table.
Yeah, no, not designed for bulk. This is a personal pot pie, a PPP. And I took a couple bites. Like I will say, crust good. Like I'm into that, but it left me wanting, you know?
In what way? Was it, because you said it was too gloopy.
Very gloopy.
I hear you there.
Yeah.
It is like the opposite of the velvety, silky smoothness of Pepto-Bismol.
It is. Yeah. But even if I'm thinking of other similar endeavors, like I feel like French onion soup is not so far off because it has a kind of an odd texture to it and sort of the top layer being almost crusted on over it.
Sure.
But that one does it for me, whereas this one does not. I think the contents being incredibly gloopy overall didn't do it for me in the first place.
So you don't like the gravy, essentially.
And David, we're improvising here. I don't like gravy very much in the first place.
Not a gravy man.
Not a gravy guy.
Wow. I'm a gravy stan. Yeah. I love gravy.
Gravy pervert.
Yeah, I am a gravy pervert. I will admit that on the internet for everyone to hear. I am a gravy pervert.
In front of our audience and God and everybody to hear.
Yes, absolutely.
David, I got one video game I got to tell you about up front.
Oh, is it about Is it gravy? You can't just leave me there. You just can't like.
The clock struck 5 minutes on Audacity. And I was like, I'm going to turn back into a pumpkin or whatever at the stroke of midnight.
You're going to turn back into a bowl of gravy.
Yes, yeah. When midnight hits, I will turn back into a Super Nintendo controller and cease to exist once more.
Okay, you can talk about games, but I'm going to sprinkle this gravy conversation back into the pod every now and then because I have more questions.
Okay,
you can't just leave me here.
I simply must talk about this one game, David. Usually I have more to talk about about the games I've been playing, but I've been playing one game pretty much exclusively.
Let's hear it. What is it?
David, it is Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Have you kissed Cow yet?
I haven't, and I can't, unfortunately.
Oh.
I did look up.
It's because he likes gravy, right?
He likes gravy
He's
too
got
much.
Gravy lips. You can't kiss the gravy lips.
I can't stand the fat residue left over by the gravy lips, yeah.
It's like a nice thin layer of fat, like chapstick on his lips.
Yeah, just greased up. Man. I can't do it. He's got a powerful mustache. It gets all up in there.
Cow's got some greased up lips, is what you're saying.
Yeah, greased up stash, Cow.
Wow.
Cow with the grease stash. Okay, so Dynasty Warriors. For anybody who doesn't know shit from chat about that series, it's quite old, first thing.
Yes.
It's been going on for a long time. The very first Dynasty Warriors is completely different than the rest of them. It was a fighting game, and they almost immediately pivoted into being a different series, starting at Dynasty Warriors 2, which was the first one that I played, and that came out on the PlayStation 2. I think I've told this story before, but my dad and I were just had purchased a PS2. Like, we managed to find like one in stock at like a Best Buy or something.
Wow.
And we had been driving around a couple days afterwards to try and find games for said PS2 because those were also kind of hard to find. And we went to a GameStop, and my dad was like, he asked the cashier, like, what game is really going to show me like what this thing can do? Like, what's the power of this rig? And the kindly man had pointed us towards Dynasty Warriors 2 because there was supposedly a lot of characters on screen. It was very impressive. And I was in pretty much from that moment. And I will say that despite my love for this game, it largely hasn't changed very much since then. Like the core basics of the game were very consistent from Dynasty Warriors 2. Essentially, you play as one of many characters in a like pretty gigantic roster of, I would say, pretty heavily fictionalized but real people that existed in Chinese history. And you are playing through the like warring Three Kingdoms period, which is like roughly 220 to 280 AD in Chinese history. Essentially, like the long and short of that is that there were three like big dynasties that were fighting for control of China at the time.
Yes.
And like some of those games will essentially flip-flop back and forth between some campaign where you either get to play as one person over the course of, or you get to pick one character that you play over the course of like the entire game. And that's usually much more fictionalized of like a lot of these people are dying or just like retiring from war, and like that didn't actually happen, but these ones are like fictional, so you play as Cow the whole time, right? Or they will go into like dynasty simulations kind of where you're playing as like one, like the Han or the Shu or the Wei or whatever. And then you kind of change between different characters depending on like what's actually supposed to have occurred on these. Again, it's like the structure of these games is such that you are one person usually killing like thousands of people in one battle, and so like it is rooted in history, but that's kind of where it stops, you know, like you're this fictional warrior or a real warrior, but is very heavily fictionalized in the stuff that you're doing. But I found that very fun pretty much throughout every one of these games. It reminds me of the same kind of draw that any Dragon Ball Z game has, where it's like, I've played this so many times, like this exact story, but just kind of the twists and turns are always kind of fun. And I will say it was pretty impressive in 2000 when Dynasty Warriors 2 came out, but like I can see how that would not continue to be impressive as time goes on. Like that whole like demo of what was it, like Mario 100 or whatever for the GameCube, where like they just had like 100 Marios on screen.
Yeah. You like one Mario, how about 100?
Yes. Like that style of mechanical improvement just eventually kind of loses its luster at a certain point. Like honestly, after I fought 1,000 Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 2, I was like, I think that's peak. Like, I don't need
where do you go from
that.
there?
Yeah, like I don't need more, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, point being, like, this series eventually started to, or not this series, but this style of game eventually started to be called Musou games, which I'm sure you've heard before. Essentially meaning like it's, I think loosely translated to the only one in Japanese, essentially kind of gesturing at the one man army of it all.
Sure.
Of like, usually there's a lot of stuff different about these games, but usually something that is common is that you are one person who can just cut down hundreds of people, you know? And for anyone, again, not super familiar, there are so many of these games. Like,
it's insane.
It's wild. So Dynasty Warriors Origins, the one I'm going to eventually get to here without all this preamble, is technically the 10th in the mainline series. But if you're counting spin-offs, you get something closer to about 80 games in the Musou genre. Like, just an unbelievable amount of video games. And like, I loved a lot of these, like warts and all. Like, you know, I've talked about this before, but like the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games, I was like, fuck yes, dude.
You were big into those.
So my shit. Largely just as like, it's a glossed up Wikipedia for me of like, I just want to know the story of a lot of this stuff told to me in the most basic way possible, which I think having since watched more Gundam, it absolutely strips away sort of the meaning of those shows, but I still get to see big ass robots fight, which I'm into. But, you know, a lot of these have been very popular. Specifically, the One Piece Gundam or One Piece Dynasty Warriors was very popular. And like, it lends itself very well to a lot of that kind of stuff, like the Berserk Dynasty Warriors. I'm like, of course, right? Like,
it can make almost any IP into a Musou game.
Yeah, especially one where like you are playing a fictional character that is supposed to be kind of unstoppable, you know? That like only when you're fighting a big bad guy is it really a challenge for the main hero. I know there's like a Fist of the North Star Dynasty Warriors game, which
great
sounds fun, you know?
He did.
Omae
Yes.
And so like I have loved these games, and there's also a huge acknowledgement from me usually that like they're not that good, you know? Like they're very much comfort food of like, oh yeah, totally. Let's go do the Hulao Gate fight again. You know, like we should go crush the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Let's do that. That's fun. But like, it's not pushing the genre forward in the way that like I think a lot of games in the last 5 to 10 years have kind of taken a look at like, what are we still, you know, like what is this game series? And especially the ones that like have existed since 2000, you know, like a lot of those games are either pressing forward and doing exactly the same thing, or have looked at like, what does this look like in modern gaming? And again, I think that the stuff that Dynasty Warriors was relying on is just like not exactly the same kind of draw that it has been. And but I also like, there's also an acknowledgement that like these games are incredibly popular, and they're by far Koei Tecmo, their publishers, like most successful series. And so I understand the like trepidation of like, maybe we don't fuck with it that much, you know, like they're still selling incredibly well. So like, what happens if we alienate these fans that have been with us since like 2000, you know? It would be like as if like Pokemon was like, all right, fuckers, here's Pokemon 2. And this time there's none of the other Pokemon that you know are in it. And you only get 100 new ones, you know, like that's a swing, you know? And
sure
like,
is.
I don't think Dynasty Warriors would ever make that kind of swing, but it feels on like in a similar realm of like, we would really have to step out of the comfort zone to get something that is truly different.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the similarities to Pokemon also make sense because it's like their most popular thing. Like Dynasty Warriors still sell very well. Pokemon still sells very well. So like in a way they're like, what, like, let's maybe not change that much.
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Kind of still be profitable. Like that's, I don't think that's a good reason not to change, but like, I understand why a publisher would be like, maybe we don't. And then after all that sort of stuff happened, 2 independent things happened, or more depending on how you're counting. One, a bunch of Dynasty Warriors games came out that I played that I was like, these are pretty good games. Like the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came out, and it was more than just a hack and slash. Like they took a lot into consideration about like the powers from Breath of the Wild. And there was a lot of like depth and complexity, and they had a bunch of character writing that was fun and interesting. And I was like, that seems seems like they understand what makes a good Zelda and also what makes a good Dynasty Warriors game. And they somehow blended those very well. They put out Fire Emblem Three Hopes game, which I was also, they like included some of the tactics. They give you that home base. They're like, we understand what makes Three Houses very good and a good Dynasty Warriors game. And then Persona 5 Strikers came out as well. The same deal of like, they have integrated a lot of the stuff that made all of those series good into these games. It's not just a cash grab of like, we put a skin over this. It's like they went to the trouble of like, let's actually figure out what is cool about those series and also integrate them into these games. And I was like, that is bizarre because usually these games are just like, you know, the same kind of stuff over and over and over again. The other confusing thing that happened is that Dynasty Warriors 9 came out and it was largely lauded as quite a bad video game. Like, and like I played it and I kind of agree. Like, I think that there's stuff in there that is interesting, but like the UI is so bad. The pace is kind of rough too. Like you have to traverse China in an open world, and that's just like big. Not that thrilling. You know, famously China, a big place. And like, again, I think that there's interesting stuff there. And I was just like so worried that they would see the kind of like step outside of their comfort zone move of, you know, we've been making the same games for 7 games in a row in the mainline series and Dynasty Warriors. Oh, let's try an open world. And then it kind of falls flat. And I was like, oh man, I hope they don't just go back to making the same fucking game, you know? Like, cause I like that could be a lesson that you learn from that of like, well, I guess we're just not cut out for it. You know, like when Pokemon Legends came out, Arceus, I was like, I hope this is good enough that they make another one, you know, like, cause it was interesting. It was just different. And it was unfortunate to me that Dynasty Warriors 9 was not very good because like, it's also coming out not that far away from games that I found very good in the Dynasty Warriors series. And so I was like, oh God, like, are they just going to keep this the safe one and kind of have their experiments elsewhere, you know? And I was also asking, like, in these other games, it's like they made a good Fire Emblem and Dynasty Warriors game or a good Persona and Dynasty Warriors game. And I was like, what is the thing that makes a Dynasty Warriors game good? Because most of the mainline series are not phenomenal, but I found all these other ones very good. And so I'm like, there's something in there, you know, that isn't just the one man versus 100 that is like the best shit about it. And so I was like, man, I really hope that they, you know, do something interesting with it. Lo and behold, Dynasty Warriors Origins comes out, which is technically the 10th in the series. Great. And they did not name it Dynasty Warriors 10. They named it Dynasty Warriors Origins, sort of nodding to the fact that like, we're trying something different, you know, this is maybe a different thing.
Still got the reboot, kind of like, what was it? Mortal Kombat?
Yes, in a way. Still kind of carrying the moniker of Dynasty Warriors, but like they've got something else. This isn't just another one in the named series. David, I am happy to report. This is the good one. This is the good one. This is the good one.
This is the good one.
I like all of them I love, but I think if you are a person who has had like maybe a passing interest in this series, do this one. This is the one for you. I will say at the top, at the very first thing, if you don't like this kind of game style, this one probably will not win you over. You know, like
still not going to do it.
I don't think so. Like if you're just not into the kind of like hack and slashy sort of stuff that is in these, this one's definitely that. But I will say if you maybe have been somebody who enjoyed them in the past or, you know, enjoyed one of those spin-offs that like, this is the one. So what is working about this game and like, why is it working as well? And I think that they just managed to hit the good middle ground. I think they managed to keep some of the stuff in the series that I think would be kind of bizarre if they didn't, like that feels sort of part of the soul of the game, while also layering on stuff that makes it feel more cohesive, makes it feel more of a game that exists in 2025 and not just kind of an echo of 2000, you know? And it still feels fresh. I think it manages to put forward its best foot with like, here's the shit that is good and has always been good about the series, but a lot of other stuff that will also make it very good, you know? So, like, things that have remained. The schlocky metal music that plays in the battles, very present. Still very
that needs to be there.
Has to be there. Yeah. So bizarre. Don't know why they made that decision, but they have really stuck to it. The one-man army of it all, extremely still present. You are still fighting thousands of dudes. And the fact that it's like, you know, it's still very rooted in this era of fighting, right? Like the major beats of this story, I think if you have played another one of these games, very familiar. Some of the stuff will seem very familiar.
The Yellow Turban Rebellion?
It's the first thing you do, although it takes a lot longer to get to the big battles, which I will get to in a second.
Okay. Okay.
But the things that are new, I think the most obvious of which, combat's much, much better. Like just worlds better.
Like more challenging, weightier, like it's more difficult.
Kind of all of it. And I think that like they've just done a good job with it. No one enemy is going to kick your ass. And that's still true. And I think that that's part of the appeal is that like just some random bozo running up to you on the battlefield, that's not going to be the guy that kills you.
Yeah. He chose a bad day to die.
Yes. Yeah. And like that is important to it. And so I think what they've done instead is they've shifted the focus of who is hard to fight and who gets way more like emphasis on the combat into like the generals, essentially. Like the big dudes on the field who you have to fight, those are the ones that you have to fight a little harder.
Yeah.
What that has meant in the past is just like you have to cheese the enemy, like interrupt their hit movements or like their hit animations and just sort of knock them over until they die. With this one, it feels way, way more modern. And like I would say the closest comparison is maybe Sekiro, where like parrying is a very big deal.
You got my attention now.
Yes, yeah. Parrying is a big deal. Having like certain attacks interrupt other attacks in a way that's not just cheesing the enemy. It's like sometimes when they glow a certain color, it's like, oh, I need to use my like punch attack, which will interrupt them here and like leave them open.
Okay.
Eventually they have these little shields above their health bar that is kind of their like stamina meter almost.
Yeah.
And if you break that down, then you can do like a very big and stylish hit on them. It's very Dynasty Warriors. You usually will like hit them with your spear, knock them into the air and like slash 1,000 times at them or something.
Great.
And then knock them back down. And it does a lot of damage is the point. And so like these encounters with these bigger guys comes down to like, all right, I got to read when he's going to attack, maybe parry, maybe dodge. That's also a thing you can do. That feels very responsive and like a modern fighting game or a modern action game.
Yeah.
And so like the big encounters feel big and weighty because you're kind of just like narrowly fighting one person most of the time. But what they've also done is that they almost treat the many people, the many mobs of dudes fighting you as like a wave almost. Like there's just a ton of guys coming at you. And so you do need to be a little bit more aware of like, there are so many dudes over there that if I just run up on them, like that's not going to go well. Because it's not like any one dude is going to hit you. It's more that like all of them will jump on you at one time and start to do just like a little bit of damage, not to the point where you're going to get killed, but it's like, I think it's putting a much higher emphasis on just like positioning of like, I am so far away from the rest of my allies right now that like, I shouldn't be here, you know, like I can't possibly take them all on. And so it's more of this like kind of abstraction of what it's like to fight a lot of people rather than like the actual experience in the other games of like, all right, there's 100 dudes in front of me. I just need to corner myself a little bit so that I can hit them all. And then that's really it. You know, it's
true. Yeah.
It's much more like mechanicalized of like, it's not that 100 guys are hitting you. It's that there's just this wave of people who are, you know, their morale's really high. They're very confident. And so they're like hitting you more than you should be getting hit right now.
It overwhelms you.
Yes. Yeah. And so like the implication usually in the older games is just like, let me just run a little bit, do a little chip damage, run back, chip damage. Whereas this one is kind of mechanically encouraging you, like go fight with your allies. Like don't be in a stupid position, you know, and like fight the big guys when you need to, which I think that's a really smart treatment of the things that they're trying to communicate. Cause I think Dynasty Warriors overall wants to communicate like scale and power in a lot of ways. And you can kind of break that in a lot of the games of like, they're not that tough. Like I can just go press X or square a bunch and beat everybody. Yeah. Whereas in this one, I found myself like, you know, ride my horse off in one direction and then find myself like surrounded by dudes like, oh my God, I can't take this many guys on. I need to like go back a little ways and change my tactic a little bit. At the beginning of a lot of the battles in the other games, it's like they'll explain to you like, we're going to go up through this gate and then fight this guy. And then our secondary forces will come around the back and flank them. And it usually means jack shit. It usually just
means nothing.
There will be some guys on the field and you can largely just go do whatever you want to.
Go to the blinking marker when they tell you to.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Whereas this one, it kind of behooves you to pay attention to that a little bit of like, okay, so they're going to go up this way. And so I'll have a lot more allies right here. And oftentimes like they're signaling to the player, like this is a trap and you should be careful. And so it might be smarter. Like I should go with this other group of people because they are probably going to get jumped. Yeah. And also, you know, they're playing to character types sometimes where like Dong Zhuo is like a shrewd guy and is going to use people as like kind of like human shield to fight fight some battles and like you kind of should just stick with your allies because you don't want to get overrun, you know?
Sure.
So all of that kicks ass. You have like weapon leveling and skill trees and shit for the one guy that you're playing as, who I will talk about. And so there's a little bit more depth there, which is all just like wonderful. There is a story in this more than there has been in the other ones. Like more often than not, it is like Dragon Ball Z, where it's like, and then Goku fought Raditz. It's like, sure. And then Cao killed Liu Bei or whatever. But in this one, you're playing as like a guy who like just wakes up, has amnesia, and like I would say the beginning is like almost Souls-like in the way that you just kind of like wake up in this like kind of charred village, and some disembodied voice is like, guardian of peace, you must go find the place and kick a bunch of ass, you know, like that sort of deal.
Yeah.
You immediately encounter Guan Yu, and he's like, hey, shit's really fucked, but like we should help these local people out a little bit. You also see who will eventually be the leader of the Yellow Turban Rebellion, helping these people out.
Whoa.
And like you see the sort of the embers of a coming rebellion, right? But Guan Yu's like, dude, you're sick as fuck. Like, what's your deal? And you're like, I truly don't know. I saw online on the like Reddit for this game, somebody named him John Musou, which
John Musou
is so goddamn funny. But yeah, point being, you're playing a dude who has a story that exists outside of the like history of all this, and I don't know what that means for the future of the series, because like I don't think you could just do this one again with a different guy. But point being, I am way more enthralled than I normally am, because I'm like, what's the deal? Like, what is this guy's deal? And like, how is he going to weave through this like historical story that is being told? It's not phenomenal storytelling. Like,
sure,
the writing is borderline bad sometimes, and like that's pretty in line with Dynasty Warriors. So like, I'm not so compelled, because I'm like, I just fucking love these characters. I find them all kind of cheesy and fun, and I think it's also the kind of camp that maybe doesn't know it's campy, which I always find delightful. Like, that's very, very fun for me.
They think they're very serious.
Yes. Yeah. Like, this is all worth taking seriously. Maybe. Gotcha. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not familiar with it, but that's the tone it feels like to me. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm so interested in what's going on, because I'm just, you know, it's novel, it's new and interesting.
Great.
It's also worth mentioning the main character, just so hot, like unbelievably hot, which I think is very fun.
Do you want to kiss yourself in this game? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm just saying, like, it's nice to be hot in this game. I think it's great.
Does it make the game experience better?
For me, it does, because like Guan Yu's back there talking about like, dude, we and my two brothers, we like really gotta like fight this battle. And then your main character is just over there, just like kind of squinting and looking just smoldering in the corner, like, yeah, me too. He doesn't actually say anything most of the time, but like you choose dialogue.
With his sexiness.
Yes, yeah. He speaks through his stares.
Wow.
And it's hilarious. You also like, you do have these Bond events thing where like you'll just run into a character on the overmap and you can like just hang out with them. And again, they're usually not very good, but like they almost all of them, there's kind of an undertone of like, are you hitting on me? Is that what's happening right now? Guan Yu at some point like ran up to me and is like, yo, I want to etch your voice onto my soul. I'm like, my man.
Wow. Okay.
What is going on?
Just because we're best buds.
Yes. Yeah. I saw somebody call this kind of character writing player sexuals, where it's like everybody in the world is just attracted to the player. Like that's the person that they want to go after, which I got no problem with that. I think that's either fun or incredibly hilarious. And I think it's the latter in this one. Again, writing, it's fine. Like, it's okay. But it makes these kind of like the connective tissue between these like big battles very fun, because I'm just like, what is this weird historical figure about to drop on me? You know? That's all very good. And I think that something that goes a long way is that there is this like overworld map that you use to kind of walk between different places. It reminds me of like Unicorn Overlord, where it's like, there's a big world that you're just kind of walking along the map of, or you were talking about Cat Quest 2 last week. Yeah. In a similar vein, where it's like, essentially you've got a gigantic character that is walking around this map. That's all very stylized, which I appreciate.
That's cool.
Looks
I like
very
that.
Cool. And whenever you come on like a major place, it's like, okay, here's a city, and you can go choose to like, buy some weapons or go to the inn and read your letters from your buds. Or if there's a big battle, then of course it like zooms in and, you're on the normal scale of things. But I think the overworld just kind of adds to the cohesion of this game, because in the other ones, like kind of like I was mentioning with the comparison last week between Need for Speed Hot Pursuit and Forza Horizon, where Need for Speed Hot Pursuit just takes you from one level to the next level to the next level, and Forza Horizon allows you to wander between those places and do other shit. This one feels like that, where I think they went a little bit too far with Dynasty Warriors 9 of like, we're going to build China and let you wander around.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it like abstracts that a little bit to the point where you're just kind of wandering around the map. And I like that. It's fun. Like it's little hidden shit on the map that you can like go find, old coins and shit. And there's about a bunch of optional stuff out there too. So like little tiny skirmishes that you can like run into. And it's like, it's not nearly as big of a scale as the big battles, but just like something to do if you want to like up your character levels a little bit, or like, oh, I've been seeing a lot of dialogue and kind of just want to hit some dudes. I'll go do one of these little fights real quick. And to their credit, they get you in those fights so fast. Like,
great.
If you're on the main map and you click X, it's like maybe a few seconds before you are literally fighting people. That works for me to kind of break up the pace of it all. Cause like, again, you get these big missions where it's like, all right, here's one of the big actual fights that we're going to do. And you can go over there and interact with that kind of whenever you want to. But in the meantime, you're free to just like go to different cities, check out their weapon stock, do these little side missions, the battles, talk to the guys outside the city, see what they're doing. Oftentimes they'll give you, like, if you run into Guan Yu or something, he'll be like, hey, do you want to get your spear skills up? Then do these challenges. And like, it's like, use this kind of skill 50 times or something like that. And so that'll reward you later if you do it with like more skill points, essentially. And just like the other games didn't have this stuff. Like either in 9, it was maybe too complicated, and in the other ones, it was too simple of just like, it's just fighting dudes in the other games. Whereas I find the sort of mechanical interaction that they have in this game very elegant, and it feels good to do in the way that like, every time I come out of a battle, I'm like, oh, sick. I got more like skill points that I can invest in, or I just upgraded my ability to use my spear or my sword, and there's like a ton of weapons that you can equip, which are all very fun. I think there's like 8 different weapon types that you unlock slowly. It's not like they just dump these on you. It's like, okay, you got your sword in the beginning, then you unlock a spear, then you unlock the gauntlets, and then the rings or whatever. And so all of that just like it forms a bond between the game that like eventually comes together, where I'm just like, it's very playable. I find myself just very enthralled and like having a good time doing whatever I'm doing. And by the time you make it to these bigger battles, they feel really significant because you've done a bunch of other shit already and like talk to your allies, and the stakes, and what's going on, to the point where it just feels great. And I didn't mention it earlier, but God, some of these big battles feel so good. They've added a lot more like kind of big events in these fights where a lot of the time you're just fighting dudes, going around kicking ass, and then every now and then they'll be like, all right, here's like a big canonical moment, and they'll have you like kind of line up in this one section and do like a charge against the enemy line. And like there are truly thousands of people on screen, and it is thrilling, riding your horse alongside like a bunch of other people. The camera kind of like shakes a little bit to make it look more intense and stuff. And it just works. It's like whenever you think about like the coolest part of a Lord of the Rings fight, like the fucking, the charge, or like
the Rohirrim coming in.
Yes. Yeah. Any of the battle lines coming together, like that shit just rocks. And I think that they've managed to capture that in a way that they haven't in other games. Not to mention there's all this shit with like, sometimes one of the bigger leaders will try and be like, all right, I'm going to try like this kind of tactic in battle. And you've got like a minute or two to like beat 200 guys or something like that. And if you do that, then it'll stop his tactic and it won't work as well. And again, the same thing is true about being out of position in those big fights where like there's like 100 dudes right at the front line, but if you charge to the back, like don't be there, you're gonna get your ass kicked. And so it kind of again encourages you to be like fight alongside your allies and like kick major ass that way. So
kick major ass together.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I think that like it's just, this is like the one, right? Like I in general, I think that the things that are good about it are present in other games. Like there's a lot of stuff here that I'm like, why is this one working so much more in this game? Like, why does the feeling of like being against the odds and there's 1,000 guys that you have to fight work very well? Or why am I so interested in everybody's character, or at least like the comings and goings of these major battles? Why do the battles feel more significant? significant. And I think it just goes to show that they kind of got the details right here, but that they did not abandon what makes the series cool in the first place. And I think that's pretty remarkable. I think that's very cool. Like I said, if you know that you're not into this kind of thing, this is probably not going to change your mind.
Yeah.
But if you're curious, I would give it a try. I think like this is, if somebody says like, hey, I just heard about this Dynasty Warriors game, like which one should I check out? I would point them here and say like, this is probably it if you want to give it a go.
Okay.
I will say tips for anybody who is checking this out for the first time. Please, first, for the love of God, remap dodge to be circle or B or whatever it is, the right button.
What did they have it as default?
R2, David.
No, that's
what
wrong.
What are we doing?
That's a crime.
That's not right.
Look. Everyone knows the dodge button was popularized by Dark Souls and third-person action games. It's okay. It's okay to make it circle. It's all right.
They got the parry right. It's on L1. That's the correct spot.
That is the correct spot.
Right? But just immediately remap that, because like when I was playing it for the first hour, I was like, I just kept reaching for circle whenever I wanted to not be in the place that I was.
Yep.
And I was like, will I be able to remap my brain to think of it as R2? The answer is no.
No need to.
You don't need to. And what you change there is that the Musou button, like the big attack that you can do every now and then, is on circle most of the time. But you use it so infrequently that like I don't need it right there. I'm dodging constantly, like all the time.
Maybe that was on purpose, or like every time that you think this is Dark Souls, you do the Musou button, and then you just remember that, oh no, this is Dynasty Warriors. Sorry,
this is Dynasty Warriors, baby.
Please.
The thing is that they give you way less chances to use it. In the other games, you are throwing out Musou moves constantly. In this one, it's like I'm lucky if I get one or two of them off in a fight.
Gotcha.
It's pretty rare that you use it. And again, it makes sense for R2. I'm not always reaching back there unless I'm playing a shooter, but dodging, you got to put that on the circle.
Copy on the face buttons. Yeah.
The other note I would say is that give both the Japanese and English voice cast a try. I don't think either one is perfect. I found some of the English performances to be a little bit on the struggle bus and be like, what are we doing here? That doesn't sound like how a person would say that sentence. And I do wonder if it's just like they needed to have the dialogue last a certain amount of time, because like there are pauses where I'm like, why did we stop there? Why was that not just one sentence? So, but the Japanese performances sound much better to me. But the big issue is that there is so much going on screen during the fights that I kind of don't have time to look at the corner of the screen to see what someone is saying by reading it. Yeah. Maybe someone's faster at reading than I am, but in the battles, I found it pretty useful to have English on, because I was just like, I need to focus on fighting right now. Like, just tell me what you're doing and I'll figure it out. Versus like, okay, I got to read, and then I got to read the dodge in front of me and make sure to parry at the right time. All right, let me read this dialogue box real quick. Just play around with it, see which one works for you. But I would give it a try. Anyway, cool. Point being, it's Dynasty Warriors Origins. I'm so enthralled that we finally got a good one.
Nice. That I'm really happy for you.
Me too. Like, they've mostly been okay. You know, bad to okay is most of the series.
I've been shocked at how many of them you've played, to be honest.
You know, I find them fun. Like the core stuff is still good. It's just that like the rest of it is just fine, you know? Yeah. And so, I feel like we finally got, you know, one of the good ones. Again, the comparison to Pokemon is apt of like most of the most recent Pokemon have some kind of trade-off of like, it's good, or I like the ideas, but. Yeah. And so it would be cool if suddenly they were like, they just put out a good one again, you know? I think I remember Dynasty Warriors 4 being pretty well reviewed at the time, but even that was like 20 years ago at this point. So it's been a while since we've had like a real good one. And I will also say, I think the fans are also in agreement with that, of like the people who like this game are like, oh my God, we are so back sort of reaction to it. Sure. Which I'm kind of delighted by. I'm glad that they don't feel totally left behind with this new direction. But give it a go if you're interested. This is the one for me. I'm having a great time with it.
So does it feel so different from the other ones that it feels like it could almost be a different like series at this point? Or does it still feel like there's enough of the original Dynasty Warriors DNA in this to be like, yeah, this is just an evolution of Dynasty Warriors?
I think they would be well within their right to say this is what Dynasty Warriors is now. That like maybe in some of the spinoffs they have kind of an older version of the game that is more simplistic. But again, I think that they've hit the line close enough that like this isn't such a departure that people are going to look at this and be like, what the fuck? Like they retained enough of the stuff that is so quintessential to the series that I think you'd be hard pressed to be like, what is this? Like this isn't the same game, you know? Like you're still fighting thousands of dudes and knocking them into the air, and like your Musou move will hit 100 guys at once or whatever. Like
great,
that shit's all there. And so I think, you know, they could do whatever they want, right? You know, maybe they have Dynasty Warriors 10 that eventually comes out and, you know, Origins 2 or something. But like if I were them, I would just say this is it now, because this is working, you know, it's selling pretty well. People are happy with it. It's reviewing fairly well. Like it's not perfect by any measure. And I think a lot of people point out, you know, dialogue kind of stinks. And like, you know, it's repetitive in a sense. Like you do kind of have to be on board with like, I'm going to be hacking and slashing in the same way that like, you know, you got to be okay with punching and hitting with the Yakuza games, but like there's still plenty to love in that series.
Sure.
But I feel like the lesson to take from this is like, okay, I think we got close to what is an evolution, but is still retaining what is good about it.
Great. Love it. Do you feel like this new iteration of the game still lends itself to having just any IP slapped on top of it and making an enjoyable game? Or do you think there's more finesse to it now?
I feel like there's a little bit more finesse. And like, I think there are some series that this would work well for. Like if you superimposed Berserk onto this one too, I think it still works. Cause like a lot of in Berserk is about like Guts struggling to like beat people, and he's gotten kind of getting his ass kicked every now and then too. So it's like not just this like overwhelming destruction that he's doing, although he is, you know, he's usually swinging his big ass sword once and cutting down 100 guys. But I think that series might lend itself closer to this kind of fighting, but maybe so like Persona, I don't know if would actually work as well. Like I feel like part of Persona is feeling pretty cool and capable and having to like
that in this one.
Like I just feel like Joker doesn't parry, you know, like Joker like superimposes himself in front of you. He puts a hologram up and then somebody slashes at him and he's like above on the chandelier and it comes crashing down on you, you know? Like,
gotcha.
I just think Persona it serves itself by making you feel cool. And I don't know if this exact version of the game would work quite as well, but you know, there's no need to leave it behind completely. And I think that they would do well to, if they're going to do another like, you know, kind of third party crossover thing, like check out what makes a good kind of that game, because they've been very good at that recently. There was some, I think in like 2018, they were like, we should do a Star Wars one. And I agree, that would be cool, but there's been very little movement about that. So I don't know if they're going to do that still.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Love it.
David, what have you been playing?
Chase, it's been all warped cart racers all the time, baby. I'm a warped cart head now.
Please
this is my game. I'm a big Peter Griffin main now.
Deliver me from evil, please, David.
No, that's not true. I'm joking.
God, I knew you were joking, but there was a part of me that's like, are you sure? Are you sure he's joking?
I know. It is January 20th. You never know. There's just something in the air today.
Yeah.
No, that was my big joke. I have not just been playing one game. That was my long con for the troll on you, Chase. I've been playing quite a few games actually.
All right.
I'll just mention a couple of them quickly. Cat Quest 2, still playing that. It's still very fun.
Yeah.
Not much else to say about this game except that it is just enjoyable. There's a lot of spells in it actually, and that I think that's really what keeps the game interesting, like I said last time. So continue to get more spells. The lore and the twists and turns in the story are actually a lot more intriguing than I thought they would be. Is it like a magnum opus? No, but it's engaging and it's fun enough. So still really, and still great in co-op. It's great. So still really very, very much enjoying Cat Quest 2. Have played a lot of Metaphor Refantazio lately. I feel like I'm getting close to the end of this one.
Sure.
It's still great. It was my game of the year last year. It's the story is taking a lot more interesting twists and turns now. A lot more of the anime cutscenes have been popping up, and I'm just like, this is where the real juicy shit happens. I love it.
Yeah.
I also just love Nuris as a character. He's so fun. I don't feel like oftentimes non-playable characters in your party get a lot of love, and I feel like the game loves Nuris, and they give him a lot of screen time and characterization, and I really appreciate that. That someone who's not actively fighting is still given so much credit and so much respect for what he is bringing to the table. which no one else is. So yeah, he's a great character, and really just, I think, serves to drive home the central thrust of the game that I've ascertained so far, which is, hey, everybody together. Get everybody in here. Let's do this together. No matter what you bring to the table, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, let's get this democracy.
Yeah, it's like Nurs is interesting because he's like, I feel like in a lot of other stories, it would be about, like, his story would be about him being a little bit past his quote unquote prime.
Yeah.
And like having to kind of like reclaim that. And like in a way it sort of touches on that, but I feel like it's brief. It like a lot of his story is not necessarily about like, oh, the good days are behind me. He's still very passionate about the shit he does. I can't help but like the guy because of that, you know, like he's still got so much life in him and shit like that. And like I said, there's moments where he touches on that idea, but he sort of passes it off as like, nah, that's just, you know, me worrying about it too much. Like, I really want to keep pushing forward and keep inventing and keep like, you know, keep the sort of like hunger for life in me. And I don't know, he rocks. Yeah, I really like him.
Great character. And I think, I agree with what you're saying about him. And also I think it's interesting that since he is someone who is able to continue improving himself through his mind, it's fun to just have those side quests where you find things for him to give him like brain blasts. Yeah. It's great. He's a fun character.
Yeah.
I have also still been playing around the Apple Arcade.
Oh Lord.
See what's going on in there. What new fun things do we have this week?
Yeah.
Sonic Dream Team, Chase.
Oh God. Is this good? Is this a good one?
You know, it ain't bad. It is a 3D Sonic game.
Yeah.
Similar to like Sonic Adventures. It's exclusive to mobile platform.
Interesting. Okay.
And it ain't bad. It actually is. It's actually pretty fun. It has a very Dragon Ball Z coded anime intro, which was great. Cool. I had a very fun time watching that. Just the timbre of the guitar that they were using behind the anime style cutscene was so Dragon Ball Z, and it was everything I didn't know I wanted. The gameplay is a 3D Sonic game. Is it exceptional? No, but you do get a very good sense of speed. The levels are big and lots of loop-de-loops and lots of things to collect. The controls are snappy.
Yeah, I
would say that it's pretty fun as far as a mobile Sonic the Hedgehog game goes, and you can play as a bunch of, like, I think pretty much all of his friends you can unlock and play as them too. So it's very much in that Sonic Adventures mold, but they don't play, at least the ones I've unlocked, they all pretty much are just fast, just like different skins of Sonic. The story is nonsensical. There are two characters named Cream and Cheese who you are supposed to take seriously, and I just can't. I cannot do that. Sonic. Dr. Eggman is already hard for me to take seriously, but now you have Cream and Cheese, two separate characters who are always mentioned together, and it's not possible for me to say, yes, this is a serious game, but it's not. And in a way, it's very unserious, but it's fun. It's just a fun romp. It's colorful. The graphics are actually pretty good. I was actually very pleasantly surprised by the quality of this game overall. If you like Sonic games, give it a shot. Yeah, it's definitely shouldn't be the worst Sonic game you've ever played.
You know, the reboot of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern called Cream and Cheese was pretty fucking weird, but I liked all the running. The running in it was pretty good.
The running in it was good, and the levels are short. They're short and sweet, like any mobile game is intending to be. So yeah, I had a fun time with this game, surprisingly enough.
I feel like Sonic is always such a hard one. Like, you want to balance the simplicity of the game with having any sort of mechanical depth.
Yes.
So I feel like simplicity is such a big part of it. Like, you want to go fast, for lack of a better phrase. And like, if it is so complicated to do that, like, it's not going to feel very good. And so in a way, I feel like mobile is kind of like a good spot for a Sonic game because you inherently cannot have that complicated of controls and shit.
No, absolutely. You snap to rails very easily.
It's great.
That you grind on. It is easy to swap between different rails you're grinding on. The levels are immediately kind of grokkable in what direction you're supposed to go, which is straight and like very small variations on straight. And typically, if you're not going straight, you're riding a rail or like hit on I don't know what they call it, but like a slipstream through a bunch of coins. Yeah. That's taking you in a loop-de-loop around the map, but it'll eventually spit you out going straight again. So it's simple. And I think when a game, like a 3D game, is trying to emphasize a sense of speed, you kind of have to do that. I think we talked about this before. Like, how do you do speed well in a Sonic game? And I think, I mean, there's the new Sonic game that came out recently that people really seem to like. So I think they probably figured it out. But it's just hard to do in a different way than just like, okay, we're gonna do straight, go forward. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed it, surprisingly enough.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I also had to on the Apple Store test out NBA 2K25 Arcade Edition. Chase,
this is
morbid
wild.
Curiosity.
Yeah, if there ever has been one.
Truly.
For anybody who's new to the show, I feel like you've had a whole arc with 2K of like wanting to love it, loving it in the very far past, and then it just burning you so many times.
Yeah, it's NBA 2K is what radicalized me. Truly, that just the microtransaction hell it became is so sad. It's so sad to me because those games were like legitimately just good video games.
Yeah,
for a while, and I was just very curious what version of this game would I find on a mobile platform.
Yeah,
and it is simultaneously better and worse than the console versions. The graphics are, I mean, it's like you're like going 15 years in the past graphics wise with this game. You can still kind of make out some of the players, but it's like an artist's interpretation of some of these folks, which is fun in its own right. LeBron James. Domantas Sabonis does not look like Domantas Sabonis at all. They gave him like weird curly hair. I'm like, he doesn't have curly hair, but it's still good enough to be basketball, and you can tell that who's on each team. It's fine, right?
That's Michael Bourbon. That's him.
That's Michael Bourbon of the Chicago Cools. I don't know.
The Chicago Cows.
The Chicago Cows. So that's good. The gameplay is pretty much all there, which was surprising. I mean, I'm playing it on the controller, so it pretty much maps to what you would typically be doing on, a full-fledged console release of this game,
which
just
is
with
complicated, right? Like, from what I remember, 2K is not an easy game.
No, it's very complex. It's both slow and fast at the same time, which is weird. It's all about knowing the animations, and like you're not necessarily shooting the shot from where you are, especially if you're driving the basket to make a layup or a dunk. You're essentially initiating a animation at a certain point, and depending on where you are and what animation you're using, you will get to the basket or you won't. So it's a strange kind of mind fuck to play these games in that way, but it's all there, which is once again impressive to me. And what I will say, a big point in favor to this game, the microtransactions on the UI on just like the main screen are not there. They're not there. It is just 3 or 4 different things you can do. You can do a quick play, you can do my career, you can do, I think it's like my league, and then I think it's like online or settings or something like that. There's the other thing on the bottom, which was such a breath of fresh air. Honestly, give me simplicity on a main menu screen, because my old millennial eyes and brain cannot ascertain top from bottom with some of these new menu screens with these live service games. They're just incomprehensible to me. So that was really nice to see.
I think part of the appeal of Apple Arcade in the first place, or at least how it was marketed, was that they were trying to put forward the idea that like there are no ads or microtransactions in any of the games that are on Apple Arcade.
Pretty nice with this one. That's really nice with this one, actually.
I don't know if like I can't verify that literally all of them do, but like I saw a couple of instances early on in Apple Arcade where like this clearly was a game that had microtransactions in mind, and Apple Arcade was like, let's just not, like, don't put them in there.
Yeah.
And it feels great. Like anytime you can play one of those games that like you can tell the core of the game is very good, and they just happen to not have microtransaction in it. It feels great. Like it's really nice.
Yeah. And it that is what makes me feel like I could come back to playing this game more often, honestly. But with the My Career mode point against it, they still have just the awful, slow, shared my neighborhood overworld that you have to, that you're kind of forced to traverse around, and it just feels bad. Sure. Your character doesn't move well in like a normal neighborhood setting.
Yeah.
They need to just stay on the basketball court, and that's it. Because once again, you're not so much controlling the character, you are controlling a set of animations to control this character. And that also holds true in the overworld. So it's it's like the Red Dead style of piloting a meat suit.
Meat mech, yeah.
Meat mech. And it's just not an enjoyable experience.
It's really funny. They need an overworld. They need to like add a little abstraction to the point where you can just run from one place to another very quickly.
Absolutely. But I think part of it is that they still have the shared like online space between a bunch of different randos, right? But I will forgive that if they just give me a basic career mode without the story, without all the manufactured fake drama, without a social media feed. I don't need any without forcing me to remember Beats headphones
by marketing the marketing pamphlet of Beats headphones.
Oh, God, that was the worst. Oh my God, that was a dark moment.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if they don't do any of that, I think this might be the most I'll play an NBA 2K game in quite some time.
Yeah.
Because it is still fun to play the basketball game. It's underneath there, and I will deal with worse graphics. I will deal with, feeling like I'm playing this back on a PS3. And if I can just have a good time playing virtual ball, because that's all I want. And I am kind of shocked that I have to go to the Apple Arcade to get that experience.
Yeah, but let the boy ball,
Yeah, there's no option for me to try to take a picture of my face and then upload it to 2K servers, and then they make some sort of horrible gremlin version of me.
Yeah, Dobby and the basketball
not there.
Ghoul.
Dobby and the basketball ghoul. Great character. So yeah, I think I will jump into this one again and just see what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll report back, but it's not bad, and in some ways it is actually good.
Better.
I've honestly been impressed by my time on the Apple Arcade games so far, strangely enough. So yeah, that's all the Apple Arcade games I've been playing this week, and I have one more that I want to talk about briefly. I downloaded a demo for Death and Taxes.
Oh yeah, I saw this pop up on my feed of stuff that you had tried.
Yes.
What is this game?
This game is a point and click. I don't even know if I can call it puzzle right now, but essentially the premise of the game is that you are a new Grim Reaper who has been created by fate, and the fate essentially just gives you a desk job right away to determine who gets to live and who gets to die. So you're just the game largely takes place at a desk. You get faxed in these people's fact sheets, like a little picture of them and like a little blurb about who they are, what they do, and you get a marker that says you mark on the bottom live or die, and you're given stipulations for every day, like, okay, this number of people have to die, one person with like an engineering or manufacturing background has to die today, and then you get like 3 people who come in, right? So you have to follow their rules, but then also at the same time you're free to kill more people than you need to or are supposed to do as far as their stipulations go, because it says like one person at least has to die, right? It's never told me no more than this number of people can die. So if you just choose like they'll kill this person but fuck this guy too, you could do that if you want. So it's just interesting. They have I haven't gone too far into it, but I'm really curious to see what kind of like morality experiment they're trying to play with here, because that's really what it feels like it's going to be in the end. But maybe I'm totally wrong, and it'll surprise me. But it's fun so far. It's kind of home safety hotline-esque in that you're like reading text and deciding things based off of just information in front of you.
Looks kind of Papers, Pleasey in that way too.
Yeah. So it's an interesting experience, and the voice acting is good, and the graphics and the art style is engaging. So yeah, I'm having fun with it so far.
It's like supposed to be kind of funny, right? Like this is a almost comedy game.
A little bit. There is definitely some dialogue that is very dry humor, I would say. But yeah, I think there is a sense of whimsy to it. Yeah,
because like that was one of the things with Papers, Please, especially now. Like that game is just like kind of demoralizing in a way, and like it's partially why I reach for Home Safety Hotline when I'm thinking about games that I like in that genre now, because there's a little bit of playfulness to Home Safety Hotline, or a lot, I would say. But
yes,
but I like that core mechanic of having to kind of like, what did the besties call it, like UI RPG or something like that, where you like have like a job essentially, and you're trying to figure out like, all right, how do I do this to like complete the game and do my job well, but also not like totally screw over everybody in the game here.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yeah, no, and it's fun. It's like they don't give you a whole lot of information to go on, except you decide who lives, who dies. You just follow like one rule each day, and the rest is kind of up to you.
Yeah.
And fate will judge you during your probationary period in the demo to see how it goes. And then also, depending on what you do the day before, you can read your social media feed and see how what you chose to do impacted the world, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. So like if you choose a pilot to die, then a plane will crash, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. Interested to see what you think like once you play the full game, or if you play the full game.
Yeah. No, I think I will. I think it's pretty cheap, and it just seems like a nice little like brain massage game.
A good Moonlight game, probably.
Yes, absolutely. It's Moonlight O'Clock with this one.
Yeah, sure. Nice. Cool. Video games. Wow.
Chase.
Yeah.
That brings me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
What do you got?
Chase, I signed up to go to the Switch 2 experience in LA.
Oh my God.
I signed up for a drawing. I signed up to be in a drawing to go. So I haven't gotten any confirmation, and who knows if I will. But I was like, yeah, I will go to that. That sounds great.
That's so fun. Oh my God. I would love if you somehow got picked for this.
I chose the same time as two of my other friends who live down there, and it'd be so cool to go with everybody together and just experience the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Fuck it. My Podtimistic thing is the announcement of the Switch 2. Let's just talk about this here for a second.
It's here, finally.
It's here. There was the whole thing stunk a little bit of resentment.
I know. People were like, finally, we know, guys.
Oh, not even the fan reaction, but Nintendo too was like, all right, you fuckers, like, here you go.
Here's the announcement. It's gonna be April 2nd. We'll tell you more.
Yes, yeah. Especially, I know that people have talked about this already, but like the name of the tweet or the video or whatever being an update from Nintendo, I'm like, dog, am I getting fired from Nintendo right now? Like, what is this?
Nintendo's very disappointed in you right now.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of the tone that it felt. But yeah, Switch 2, it's coming. Whoa.
Yeah. Also, 2 minutes and 22-second long video. Well played, Nintendo.
Yeah, I see you. What's going on?
Appreciate that. A little sassy with it.
Yeah, I will say I'm having to sort of grapple with the new DK design. Did you see that?
I did. Are they trying to make it more like the one from the Mario movie?
I can't tell, like, obviously they showed like approximately 3/4 of a second of a new Mario Party or a Mario Kart game, but it looks like the DK is either they're trying to do it from the movie or the like early designs of DK, like kind of SNES era DK.
Yeah.
He looking a little different. And like, that's obviously my boy, you know, like that's, if I had a spirit animal, it is Donkey Kong. And so like, it's new for me. I'm having to look in the mirror a little bit and see, say like, is this still me? Am I still DK?
Am I still DK? I mean, it does look more like an ape.
He's more monkey-like. They seem to have taken the hardy set of veneers that he's got in the other games and made him look a little bit more like Monkey, which isn't a bad thing. I like Monkey, but my boy, he's new, he's fresh now, and I gotta figure out if we're still aligned.
It almost looks like he's wearing goggles.
A little bit. His eyes are in sort of an odd position. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's an interesting rebrand for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. I want to see where we go. But yeah, wow, new Switch, it's coming. I'm not surprised by sort of them being like sort of taking the safe route, of like just let's do a new thing. Of course, my heart always wants Nintendo to do something weird, and I suspect they still will. They sort of have that mouse thing that people have been talking about of like there's the infrared light on the bottom of the Joy-Con, and like that might be a mouse, which like that's weird. That's fun. I like that.
Yeah, I'm like, how is that gonna work? Is it gonna work well? Like I'm on a couch when I'm playing that.
That's sort of the thing is like, I feel like you need a flat surface and it can't possibly be very easy to use that. But even still, if I need to like put a little flat surface, like I got a little couch desk that I could use. But I think that would be cool. Like there's so many games. And I think the one that immediately comes to mind is Civilization, of like, they had to work to get that thing to work with a controller. And it would be so much easier if they could just be like, you know what? It's a PC. Like just use a mouse.
City Skylines, another great example. I was listening to Any Percent from the Into the Aether guys, and they were talking about how it presents a new kind of control, which is the one that I've sort of been longing for a long time, which is a mouse in your right hand and a thumbstick in your left. I sometimes do this with the PC. Like I'll plug in a controller and just hold the left half of an Xbox controller and then use a mouse to use the like looking, because I like the way a mouse feels. I just don't like controlling a person with WASD. It feels kind of limiting. It does. It makes my brain hurt as a console gamer.
Yes, yeah. I've learned to use the sticks my entire life. And so like it's odd to try and use that instead. And I would love it if they let me live out that fantasy of having a mouse and the joystick. I'm also hoping that they come up with like kind of a housing that you can put the Joy-Con into to make it feel a little bit bigger. Because like just straight up using a Joy-Con, probably not going to feel good as a mouse.
It's a bigger Joy-Con now though.
It is a bigger Joy-Con, but I hope that they have just like something like the Wii steering wheel for the Mario Kart on the Wii. Like something that you put the Joy-Con into that
just
feels
looks like a mouse.
mouse.
Just like you do it right in the middle and it's just, okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
If they don't release one, I'm sure somebody will release one, or there will be a 3D printer schematic for that online pretty quickly.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope that exists, because that would make it feel pretty good to have like a little bit more ergonomics on it rather than having to like grip it between your two finger and thumb, move it around like that.
Yeah, that might not be the best way to hold something for a long period of time.
Yeah. Wow. Switch 2. Here we are. Living in the future. David.
Yes.
Do you want to move on to our main thing?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the Manga Minute. It's the minute where I have a minute to talk about manga. Right in the middle of the transition.
Wow. Never done it here before. This is fun.
Yeah, this is a new one. Reading Death Note, David.
Ooh. Have you watched the anime?
I watched the first episode of Death Note and I was like, that looks good. And then I never watched any more of it.
That's impressive. It's a really good anime.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the fact that I simply just never made time to watch very much anime.
Gotcha.
That manga suits me much better, because the moment I'm like interested in something, I will just read the whole fucking thing.
Sure.
Whereas with anime, I'm like, all right, I got to carve out some time for it, and then just never do.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting, the Death Note. I somehow have not gotten spoiled on anything. I really
That's impressive.
Don't know what happens in it.
Keep it that
other
way.
than like literally the setup, you know? Light Yagami, total shithead, totally just horrible guy.
Yeah.
Ryuk, very funny to look at. I can't tell if the manga is intentionally making him look so goofy or not, but he looks like a very silly creature whenever he's just in the background, eyes darting in different directions.
I was about to say, his eyes are going in different directions. He's creepier in the anime because they keep his eyes kind of like moving around almost like a chameleon.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, no, he looks like a goober in the background, which is very funny. Does the anime cover the whole thing?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. How far are you in the manga?
Deep. I'm like 8 volumes in right now. Or no, sorry. I think 11 volumes in.
Okay.
It has taken a long time to get through these beats.
Because I think it's only, I don't know how many episodes it is. It's not that long.
I don't remember it being super extended.
I think they really condense it.
Yeah, Death Note anime. Because like this one is taking me a lot longer to read than normal. And I think it's because there's just so much text. Like there's a lot of dialogue in this manga, which I kind of like. I'm enjoying it. I think it's pretty fun. But, I feel like in a lot of other works, there's a lot more just like straight up art, where this one, it's just so much pontificating about the reasoning behind someone's murder, or somebody essentially saying, you've triggered my trap card. That's essentially... It's most of what's going on in here.
I've proven it's you, finally.
Yes, yeah. Or he'll never see through this. And, it's all just so ridiculous and over the top. I will say the like kind of morally corrupt character as the main character, I can see how that was very popular in like 2010 when the anime came out or whatever. Yeah. It's lost a little bit of its luster in 2025, where I'm like, Light really sucks, man.
Yeah.
Like he is not good. And not just like, there was like 1 second in the beginning where I was like, maybe this could work. And then immediately Light's like, I killed like 1,000 people. I'm like, okay, well, no, like that doesn't work.
It's not a good thing to do.
No. So like it's, I don't have to squint very hard to imagine that like some people are like, Light's fucking awesome, but he's just kind of a turd. And I don't love him very much, but I'm still reading it. It's still fun to kind of like see what's going to happen in this one. So it's the Manga Minute, David.
Can I add on a little bit?
Yeah, it's David's Manga Minute.
Yeah, it's my Manga Minute now. Welcome everybody. I read and completed Fire Punch.
Oh, wow. Yeah. This is, what else did he do?
He does Chainsaw Man.
Yes. Yeah. The same manga author.
Yes.
How did you find it? What did you think?
Have you read this one?
No. It's on my list, but I haven't read it.
It is a tough read.
Really? Okay.
There's a lot of very intense subject matter.
Yeah.
It's very depressing. It kind of like things that I have read in the past that remind me of it or experienced in the past, media wise, would be like The Road or The Last of Us.
Oh, man.
Very similar. It's just bleak. A bleak world creating very bleak people doing terrible, awful things to each other is a large portion of the story, with a lot of, superpowers mixed in as well, for good measure. And just a completely ridiculous, nonsensical ending in a way. And it shows that it's kind of one of his earlier works. There's some clumsiness to it, I think, in the storytelling.
Sure.
There's still a lot of good talent and skill there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that some of the subject matter maybe isn't handled as well as it should be. Maybe that's just my Western mindset there. But overall, I did enjoy it. It was a brutal, bleak read, but it kept me guessing, and I had no idea where the fuck it was going to go. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what exactly the ending meant or what I was actually supposed to take away from it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun. I don't know if I can actually say fun. It was an interesting read. It was engaging to experience.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say if you are sensitive to bleakness and terrible things happening to people for no reason, might not be the best read for you. But if you can stomach those things, there is an interesting story in there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. I had heard it was kind of intense like that. And like typically I feel like my tolerance for that kind of stuff is kind of higher in manga, because I can sort of just like, if something is so brutal, I'm like, all right, I'm just kind of going to breeze through this a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it's overwhelming, like it sounds like it might be that this is still going to be sort of an intense read.
It is an intense read, just with the blanket of despair that is kind of just all throughout this story.
Yeah.
Like snow across the world, which is very much part of this story. But it was interesting. It was interesting. There's like a big like what the fuck moment as well. And you're just like which was actually kind of fun. So yeah, it's good.
Love that. All right. I mean, it's on my list of stuff to read, so I'll for sure check it out at some point.
Yeah.
Cool. That's been the manga 10 minutes or whatever that was.
The manga couple of minutes.
And with that, welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear. And gosh, all the things that we love about them. We got suggested to play.
I forgot what we were talking about for this segment. And then I remembered, I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
It feels like a dream, the experience of playing this game.
Yes. Yeah. A fever dream.
Yeah. You have to be sick to access this one.
Absolutely.
This is Little Big Adventure 2 or Twinson's Little Big Adventure 2 or Twinson's Odyssey. There's a lot of different names that this has been called.
Odyssey. Great.
We got suggested to play this by both Ponk and Dirst. Both people suggested playing it. Mm-hmm. Dirst on the topic of this game had to say, this game is a wild immersive sim / adventure game from 1997. It is wild. And that was from Dirst.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Apparently this like character Twinson was like much more famous in France than he was over here, because like
this makes sense that it's French.
Yes, yeah. I laid eyes on this motherfucker and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like him before, let alone this guy.
I've never seen a beast that resembles you.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
this is a different
agree.
Form.
It's not quite human.
No, very like elongated head. And just the proportions of this man are frightening in a way.
And just one ponytail?
Yeah, the one high ponytail.
Mm-hmm. No other hair, just the pony.
Yeah. Let me hit you with a few hot stats about this game, David.
Please, yes.
Let's see if we can't ground ourselves here.
Hot stats.
So Little Big Adventure 2 came out July 1st of 1997, quite a while ago.
Yeah.
This was a PC game, which might explain how it manages to like not look so much like a 1997 game. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look great, but like when I was playing it, I was playing the kind of remastered version, and so like the frame rate was all juicy, which was nice. I will say, like it felt like, hey, this is a very modern and playable game. Like it's not bad at all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was made by Adeline Software, which made this, the first Little Big Adventure, and then also also Moto Racer Advanced, Time Commando, and the canceled Flashback Legend.
Wow, this is some cool sounding games, actually.
I know, yeah, very good titles here. I had to pull a review from Joe Video, given that these are French reviewers and a French game. I took the review from Joe Video, the outlet, the video game review outlet, ran it through Google Translate a number of times, arriving back out in English to mangle it up real good. There's something about this one, David. So,
okay.
Really strap in here.
I'm ready.
There are some great things about Tiny Big Adventure 2. It's fun, where you can find the adventure you're looking for fun. Challenging adventure, where you can find the adventure. Easy to understand, easy to follow story, race distance, max speed distance, and speed distance are all calculated based on the max speed distance and speed distance.
No.
This situation has been going on for 30 years without losing integrity and vitality. View or search again. And they gave it a 9 out of 10. They loved this one, David.
Did you just like speak an incantation at me?
It felt like a spell.
It felt like a spell. Like they hid a spell in their video game review, and now we're both cursed with some sort of arcane knowledge or something.
Yeah. There's some portal that opened up on the other side of the world.
Every game that we will play from now on will be Twinson's Big Adventure 2.
It's all just max speed distance all the way down.
The first 75% of that review made no sense.
Yeah, no, it's all just gobbledygook. There's nothing in there to hang on to.
My God.
I feel like usually Google Translate does a fine job. I looked at the original review. There's nothing that repeats nearly as much as that. So I think truly this was a Google Translate hallucination that was going on here.
The AI got in there and was having a moment of sentience and just then decided to spit this out.
Distance.
I am alive. Yeah.
Oh my God. What is Little Big Adventure 2, David?
It is a top-down adventure game where you play Twinson, a weirdo who lives in a village, and you walk around the village and talk to angry, stomping around elephants and other folks who are there and very, very French. And you just kind of unravel this adventure because your Dino Fly, which is a flying dinosaur dragon sort of deal, gets struck by lightning when a bad storm comes in, and you have to go out and get him medicine, and then from there a big journey unfolds.
Yeah, it's like borderline an immersive sim. It's not that far away from being an immersive sim. It's very confusing how that's possible, but the game has a physics engine, and you the strangest part about this too is part of maybe not the strangest thing, but one of the strange things is the control scheme in this game, because I don't know if you were playing on a controller or a keyboard, but
controller.
With the controller, you hold R2 to run straight.
Or just move.
You just go forward.
R2 is gas.
Yes, it's like you're piloting a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And Twinson also has Twinson also has stances that he can take.
Different modes. Yeah.
Yeah. Normal, sporty, which is running.
Sporty. And his idle animation with that is just skipping, high knees up, ready to do gymnastics. There's
that, and aggressive, where he's just constantly throwing punches in front of him.
Walking around punching.
So funny.
And then there's sneaky, right?
Yes. Yeah. Discreet, if I remember correctly.
Where he's just tiptoeing in his Jordans.
He is tiptoeing in his Jordans.
Right? Man. He's really tiptoeing. It's not like Crouch. It's not modern sneaky discreet.
Yeah.
It is 90s discreet, which is big, exaggerated tiptoes.
Yeah. Yeah. Shouts out to, who wrote Tiptoeing in My Jordans? Riff Raff. Shouts out to Riff Raff.
Shouts out to Riff Raff. I never thought I'd say that sentence.
Yeah. So that's all true. I feel like the game immediately just starts piling up shit for you to do okay, need the
Dino Fly.
Sorry.
Dino Fly is dying. Got hit by lightning.
Got to get the medicine. You try and go find the medicine. Umbrella gets stolen. Got to go find the mouse with the umbrella.
Yep.
The chick who umbrella you found, she's like, all right, I don't have the right medicine, but you got to take a boat to go find the right medicine. Boats ain't leaving right now.
Nope.
So they're like, you got to go fix the weather.
You got to find the weather wizard.
Got to go talk to the weather wizard. The weather wizard is like, no, I don't want to. You need to find the guy at the lighthouse.
Uh-huh.
And just like immediately starts piling shit up to do, which is like, it's a very classic adventure game, kind of almost point and click adventure kind of thing. But I found it, fun. Like I was like, I kind of know what to do here. This is cool.
Yeah. And the island is fun enough to explore.
Yeah. Like every character I run into too, I'm like, what fucked up voice are you about to speak into existence right now?
Yeah. And the island is populated just by humans and elephants and mice.
Mice, yeah, too. Like humanoid mice and humanoid elephants.
Yeah,
and shit.
I feel like there's backstory from Twinsen's first adventure that we're missing that might explain that.
Sure, yeah. Because like Twinsen and his pregnant wife seemingly are human, or at least close to it. Yeah. But like, God, I love every voice actor who like, okay, weird thing. I would say Twinsen's voice actor is doing a pretty good job. Like the lines are all delivered in a way where I'm like, okay, yeah, I like buy most of this, you know?
Uh-huh.
Other than the fact whenever Twinsen tries to read, it sounds like he cannot.
Yeah.
Like,
why does he sound like a second grader trying to
like
something
sound
out?
it out. Yeah. The lighthouse, like that style of reading, which like power to you, Twinsen. Maybe this is new for you, but like it was bizarre to have that be the thing. But like in every other moment, I'm like, I think he's doing an okay job here for like a game that came out in 1997, not a time that is known for good video game voice acting.
No.
On the flip side, everybody else in the game is so weird in what like how they're delivering these lines. I feel like everybody got the note of here's the kind of character you're playing, and they are just like they have turned the volume up to 11 on whatever that character is. Like you're playing a mouse, and so the character is like, hey, hello, Twinsen. I'm too scared to go outside. Like very mousy voices and shit. Whereas like the elephants are all big and brash and shit like that.
Hello, Mr. Twinsen.
Yeah, they didn't pitch it down. It's just a guy trying to do his lowest voice
the lowest voice as an elephant. Yes.
Which like is so ridiculous, but there's something very charming about that of like you can hear the human recording this voice line right now.
This is when voice actors were voice actors. Didn't have any of the fancy tricks we got nowadays to pitch people's voices up or down or to make them sound like Indianapolis Jones. No.
This is voice actors just like Mama used to make them.
This is your daddy's voice actor.
All natural elephant voice. Yeah, I loved all of that. We haven't even really gotten to like the what do we like. I think most of the vibe about this game is so good.
It's wholly unique. I have never played any game like this in my whole life. Maybe some other adventure games of this era could get close. It almost feels like a French version of like a Double Fine adventure game.
Yeah.
I would say is probably the most apt comparison, and the French just put their special little secret sauce on it like Jeux Video does.
This game feels like it could only come out of a European mind, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
you compared it to Wallace and Gromit, and I'm like, yeah, like it feels so like a cousin to that show in a way that like the American mind cannot comprehend this kind of creative output.
And I do feel like it's almost like a graphical interpretation of claymation.
Yeah.
In the way that it's built, and like the world almost looks like a diorama in a way that's very odd, not like off-putting, but just strange.
Again, it doesn't look or feel like anything I have ever played.
It is a fantasy world.
Yes.
But it's a fantasy world that is taking inspiration from our modern world.
Yes.
Which somehow makes it like slightly disturbing in a way.
Yeah.
But not like negatively disturbing, if that makes sense. Just like it just shocks you out of a sense of complacency and normalcy constantly with just these weird things that are going on. It's like a bizarro world.
Yeah. It's the thing that kept coming into my mind was that like, have you seen those paintings of a lion where it was painted by somebody who didn't know what a lion looked like?
No.
It's like all these old painters who they're like, I would like an elephant drawing. And they're like, okay. And so they just have to go off like descriptions of the animal.
Okay. So like before zoos and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And like this game feels like that kind of painting where like somebody described what a video game is and somebody's like, okay, I'll try and make that. Are you seeing the same thing I am?
I'm seeing the second picture there, which is terrifying.
Yeah, the one of the tongue kind of hanging out of this dude's face.
Yeah, it looks like a mascot.
Yes, that is what this whole game felt like to me. Of like, you're getting what someone understood to be a video game through like 8 different lenses of interpretation.
Sure, yeah.
And there's something so delightful about that. Like, I feel like we've talked about this a little bit recently again of like, it's kind of boring sometimes to see the same kind of ideas in video games. And like, whenever you get hit with something like this and it's like just so original and weird that like, I can't help but like it. You know, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah. It is bizarre, I think is a great way of saying it. I think I also described it as like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure sort of deal in a way, with less posing and flexing, but still along that same line of vibe, I guess you could say. Yeah. Fascinating game, fascinating piece of like gaming history. This one represents.
Like it doesn't feel like it came out at the right time. Like 1997 feels weird for this moment or this game to come out. All of the voice acting feels way higher quality than I think it should be but is also bad. The control scheme is otherworldly. It's all so odd, but I like a lot of it. I will say the one big drawback, if you're going to play this game, for the love of God, save all the time.
Yeah.
You must be saving.
Yep.
Because the first time I died, it was like, oh, you died. That's a bummer. Well, let's go back to the last time you saved. I didn't. I just thought this game would
Welcome back
be
to the beginning of
me.
the game.
Yes, you start at the beginning.
This game came out before autosave.
It sure did.
Yeah.
Or just before they were like, maybe we just don't kill Twinsen. Maybe you just like go back to the place where you entered that area. And so like lost a lot of progress. But because this is an adventure game, a lot of that progress was just in my brain by that point. And like pretty easy to go back
there pretty
through.
Easy.
Yeah.
But then you have to pilot the meat suit to get there.
Did have to pilot the meat suit. Learned that I needed to sneak up on the mouse who stole the umbrella rather than run up on him.
Yes, you gotta sneak.
Gotta sneak.
Tiptoeing in the Jordans. Gotta do it.
Tiptoeing in my Jordans.
Did you enjoy the ball?
Ball was so weird. How is that the attack?
I know. And like the little lore they give you about the ball, like when Twinsen's wearing his like familial tunic, he can control the ball much better. I'm like, what happened in the first game that makes this make sense?
Yeah, it feels so, I don't know why, but it feels so European to be like the tunic lets you control the attack ball. It's like the American would just give him a sword or a gun and say like, that's enough. Twinsen has a Glock, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's like too close to cricket. Is that why?
I have no idea. I don't know why they chose to give him a ball, but like, it's so funny to just have him like hurling a ball at the enemies over and over and over again.
It's a good attack. Good ball.
It works. And the aggressive stance, just running up on people and punching them, is also so funny.
I love it. I just went around town like that because he also makes some good noises when he's doing that. He's
really
putting his whole body into it.
You can hear him struggling to find purchase for his punches. You know?
He's like, this one's definitely gonna land. Nope. Next one. Let's go.
It's wild. I would encourage anybody who has not seen or heard of this game before, just look at some screenshots. That will probably be enough for you to sort of experience what is going on a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I have never played anything like this game before.
I felt like more than being on Twinsen's big adventure, I was on adventure just experiencing this game.
Yes, yeah. I will say, weirdly, the intro of this game was kind of beautiful in a way. Like,
sure.
I think that like it was made so good partially because the music was really good. Like the score of the intro was really moving. But like Twinsen himself is like essentially recounting the first game of like, here's where I beat ass and like I saved the town and I've got a kid on the way and isn't life wonderful and shit like that. And I was like, this is kind of good, you know? And it also cuts to him and his wife just making.
They were going hard on that park bench, right?
It was like, I was a little bit like
Eating
in public.
face.
You guys really?
Yeah.
Like, I guess they're proving to me they sure do, like they know how to make a baby, but god damn, you know?
They did not seem like they knew how to kiss though.
No, yeah. And maybe that's just how those weird long heads kiss, but like, wow. pretty intense.
Twin Sins Little Big Adventure 1 has a remake on the Switch?
Yes, these games are actually a little bit more available now. I think the second one might also be out on the Switch. It is on Steam, but I knew that they're like pushing these out a little bit more, that these are more available.
Mm-hmm. So is he supposed to be just like a wizard, essentially?
I think so. Little Big Adventure Twin Sins Quest. Maybe this is a different game.
Twin Sins Odyssey. Oh, is it a new one?
Yeah, I think you're right that it's like a remake of the first one.
Okay. Why does it have so many names?
I don't know. I think it was they named it different stuff in different regions, and so it's like hard to figure out which one is which. Like Tomba being Timby or whatever in Tombi in different regions. It's so odd. This game, like, again, it feels like a game out of time, because like the cover of this game, I'm like, this has to have come out this year, and like only this year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just feels like that kind of game. Maybe I should play this, the one on Switch. Like, I wonder if they've made enough updates to the point where it's like, this feels like a modern game. Because again, there's nothing else like this.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Twin Sin. I somehow found myself on Facebook, on the Twin Sins Little Big Adventure Facebook page. And according to them, on Twin Sin's bio, his species is Quetch. So he is not a human.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that would explain a lot.
It would explain a lot.
I mean, the lore and the story in this game is bananas.
Yeah.
There's like space travel and shit. Like spaceships feature pretty heavily in the story of the second one, which is all just delightful. It's all so good and weird and stupid and amazing. I think this game is great. It's kind of unplayable in a way.
Yeah.
And like, I think you do maybe need the remake to kind of like soften some of the edges. Cause like, again, the saving stuff, I'm like, man, that is punishing for, you know, anybody who plays this.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked it. I loved the originality. I loved how strange it was, warts and all.
I agree that if you're going to do something different, go all the way. Go all the way. Make game one of one, right? And I think they did that with this game. It is a sight to behold and to experience. And yeah, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Don't get me wrong here. But
I'm not even sure it's mine.
I know, right? Like I said, most of my enjoyment of this game was just from experiencing it as opposed to like playing it. Right?
Yeah.
It's a bizarre experience. Also kind of reminds me of like, or the vibe I get from it is like it's like Dark Crystal.
Yeah, sure.
Esque. Just
the like kind of Muppety but dark movies.
Yeah, because there is like an element of darkness underneath Twin Sin.
Yes, yeah, there is a undertone in there.
But I had a good time with it. It was fun experience.
I did too. Thought it was really good. Dirst and Ponk, thank you for suggesting this game.
Yeah, thank you. If you would like to interact with the podcast more, you can go to our website, podtimism.com, where you can find old episodes that we have done. You can search for games that we've talked about in the past on episodes, and you can see Chase's podcast art that he has made for each episode, the thumbnail art, I should say. Mm-hmm. And you can also go on there and suggest a game for us to do in the future. So yeah, go there, do that, and we will get to that game eventually.
Yeah.
Also, on the website, there is a link to the Worst Garbage Podcast Network Discord channel. So on there, you can see links to other The Worst Garbage Network shows, such as .zip, Frog of the Week, Girl Mode, Into the Aether, Paws and Claws. So go there, check it out. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Thank you, Scott Wilkinson, for our podcast art. It's great. We love it. You can check out if her commissions are open at co-fi.com/humblegoat. And thank you, listener, for being here. This is great.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. There's so many different things you could do with your time and your ears, and you choose to let us talk about Twin Sin's Big Adventure and about gravy as well. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting us bring the gravy to you.
Yeah, we're bringing the gravy home, and we appreciate you letting us do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chase, do you have any gaming wisdom for us?
Yeah, man. If you got it, show it, you know?
Whoa.
If you got that shine, that sort of unique soul, which I know it does.
You talking about Twin Sin?
Don't hide that from the world. I am talking about Twin Sin, but I'm looking at you now, listener. I'm talking about you.
Oh.
Talking about the Twin Sin Big Adventure in you.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Chase.
Yeah, we imagine ourselves, David, as these little islands floating out in the void, you know, alone, and forever will be just inherently alone. alone. And in some ways, there's beauty and truth to that, right? Come in alone, you go out alone. But I think in some ways, we're much more connected than we give ourselves credit for.
Especially by a little man named Twinsen.
That connective tissue is Twinsen and his ponytail.
It's a beautiful ponytail.
That's the collective unconscious that we've been looking for, is a single ponytail.
I would not be surprised if the collective unconscious felt like Twinsen's big adventure.
It kind of does, yeah. I wonder if, we tapped into the neural network by playing Twinsen.
Only a select few are able to see this game and experience it. Something else. It's something else.
It's something else. I'm glad that we could. Hang in there, people, and we will see you next week.
Hang in there, and when the seas get rough, grab onto that gravy boat, baby.
Yeah.
Let it bring you back in.
Let the gravy bring you back.
Not Chase, though. Chase will deny the gravy.
Not me.
He would rather drown.
Don't love the gravy. I'm going to stick with lighthouses. Thank you.
I feel like you just haven't had good gravy.
I've had great gravy, David. People looking around saying this is good gravy right here. And I'm like, you know what? It's just salty, thick liquid. And that's really intense.
Is it just because it's like too similar to you?
I am salty thickwit, David.
Salty thickwit snake?
Is that gravy?
I got nothing else to that. I can't follow that.
All right. See you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.